All
I
schools
really,
and communities, yeah.
yes, I really think this is a great opportunity for your school or community. And learn as much as you can and talk to them afterwards if you want to learn more about Belouga.
We're open to talk to everyone who's interested about Beluga. Okay, you've seen us wearing these t-shirts all days. You've probably been wondering, what's Beluga? Okay, we've started implementing Beluga for a couple of months. A couple of months ago, it's actually a social platform. It's mainly for schools, uh, and as we said before, communities can also join Beluga. What's Beluga? So I've written the first topic is Beluga learning about the world with the world.
This is actually the company's motto.
Yeah, that's the motto. Space. Okay. So what is Beluga? First of all, Beluga is a social network. It's a social network because on Beluga, students can communicate. Both students and teachers and other members of Beluga can communicate. The interesting thing is that Beluga is a closed community. Like not everyone, like on Facebook, not everyone can come on Beluga and see your profiles, but
they've got to be verified. Like
yeah,
whenever the application process starts, like you first have to do like a geo ping on your school so that Evan can go back and verify that this is in fact a school. And that's basically how they're able to even establish this, because in different countries they need to make sure that you're dealing with actual accredited schools, or in institutions like Pero's place, they need to be made sure, like it can't just be me at my mom's house, like Facebook.
So actually, the most important thing is that the institution has to be accredited by Beluga. That it's actually an institution. So it's a communication platform. The very important thing is that students and people from all over the world can communicate. Those verified institutions can communicate with each other. Students in that school, for example, can communicate with each other, which is actually it's enabling to open up to other schools, to other districts, to other areas in the world. It enables students from all over the world to communicate and collaborate. If there is an interesting project or if there is a school in need, the school can ask for help from other school. Or if they are doing an interesting project, the schools can merge and can start communicating, start collaborating for the purpose of achieving that goal. So it's also a platform for asking for help from other schools and educational institutions, as I said before. On that platform, you can meet friends and collaborate on projects. For example, we met friends from Nigeria, from New York.
Missouri.
Yes. We had joint classes with teachers from New York
and Missouri.
And now we've also, I'll go back to impact campaigns later, but we've also supported some impact campaigns in other schools. So meeting friends and collaboration on project, and we believe that it's the future of education. Actually, Beluga is the thing that is starting to open up our classrooms, to open up our schools to other schools for the purpose of learning and of helping each other with projects and helping when some institution has a problem. Why do we use Beluga? So as I said, we started using Beluga in October when Matt Murray came to Macedonia. So we will build intercultural connections. So on Beluga, there are students and teachers from all over the world. As we said before, from Nigeria, that's a totally different culture and country, for which our students were not,
So the Nigerian connection was actually really interesting just because of the fact that before it started, like I'd actually heard like one of my students actually make a slightly off-color remark about Nigeria, and I utilized the fact that through Belouga we had an instant contact into a Nigerian school. So I actually had that teacher get into contact with us, and they actually sent us a video of their classroom singing their national anthem. And so we started crafting a connection at which point, after hearing that, we had our students actually start researching facts about Nigeria, so they were able to start checking their own perceptions of what that country actually was.
Okay, so we had also connections with the States.
Mm-hmm.
We had a class together with Mary Beth's classes from the States, and you can learn for other cultures directly from the people from that culture. You don't learn from the book. You don't learn from what is written, or you don't learn from. You just learn for other cultures firsthand. That's a very important thing, because you can also teach the world about your country, your culture. You can show the world what you really are firsthand, and also learn at the same time for the other cultures. So we will teach other students things that are not in the books. For example, we made a lesson about the Isar. Who has heard? I don't know if you or Macedonians have heard of the Isar. We wanted to show something interesting about our own town. So we presented something about the Isar, which is a huge mountain in the middle of the town, which has a fortress on top, and it was very interesting to present this lesson. Also, we taught about a lesson to to a teacher, to a classroom in Missouri.
A teacher over in Missouri, he'd actually come to us looking to do his classes were just studying the Balkans, and as well as the history of Alexander the Great. He'd already received the Greek perspective the year before, and he approached us trying to get the Macedonian perspective. And so it was a chance to actually allow the Macedonians to actually be able to give out their voice.
Yes. So, if we want to, why we use Belouga? We want to change the world. So everyone can do it if only we work more. We'll come back to this later. So, students will hear from other peers about cultures firsthand. Like we thought about Alexander the Great ourselves, but also students on Belouga can communicate with each other, can ask other students about our culture. Our students can ask the students in the States, for example, for their culture. The students can ask for Nigeria, and so on and so on, because actually they don't know what's going on in these countries. They know only from what they've heard on news, on TV, what they've read here and there, but they haven't heard anything firsthand. So we will make our dreams come true with Belouga, and also again, it's the future of education. After these slides, I will show you a little bit more what I'm trying to say, that will make our dreams come true, and how we will change the world with Belouga. Okay, so we said, first of all, we teach students to share. Students create profiles and share information. For example, we ask there are questions about the food we eat in our country, about the history, questions about the culture, and many other things. So when answering those questions, they're showing or teaching other students about our culture. And also the community they live in, with their peers from other countries all over the world. All this is educational. Students can learn about the world firsthand from their peer, not from their teachers, not from other authorities, but they see the world, or the countries in the world, from the eyes of their peers. Okay. We share our way of life and some specific cultural traits we wanted to show the world through the newsfeed. So this is a small.
This is a little picture that I posted whenever Matt was actually here visiting. This was among the first nights that he was here. Basically, I was giving an example of what Macedonian hospitality looks like. And so the way it works is you actually post something to your newsfeed, and it comes up as basically, this is how we show hospitality to our guests. And then at the end it says, now how do you show hospitality in your part of the world? And then other teachers and students are able to respond either via text, picture, or video. So they're able to we can show like the proper ceremony of a Macedonian nagosti, and then you can actually look at like how a British tea party goes, or just different ceremonies if different countries have different ways of doing it, or even something like a Japanese tea ceremony.
Yes, this is how we teach the world, or show the world how we live firsthand. Okay, thank you. Okay, this is one more. This is one more of those news feed.
Occasionally, Matt and Evan will actually go through like all the stories and such being produced by the Belouga newsfeed, and then they'll come and actually ask a couple more questions about what's going on, and then every month they actually come out with a Belouga newspaper, which in this case, this was the week of Halloween, right as Matt had walked in the door, and our students started goofing off with markers because it was Halloween, and it's like we welcomed them with trick-or-treat candy if they came in costume. So what do? They innovate making costumes. And it's like this got a lot of people's this actually started opening a lot of people this is a fun way to introduce Macedonia to the rest of the world, because this was the world's first impression of our Macedonian classroom.
Okay, so we teach students to collaborate. Belouga helps us open the doors of the classroom, and it opens the other classroom's doors for collaborations and a single joint goal. So that's usually done through the impact campaigns, but we'll come to impact campaigns later. How we collaborate to a certain goal, to get a certain goal.
It's like, I also think that statement encompasses just like the general collaborations that we've been doing through it. For example, our semi-monthly communications with Mary Beth's classrooms over in New York, where we basically have Ask Me Anything sessions with kids in New York, where for the first half of class, their students ask us questions about Macedonia, and for the second half of class, our students ask them. So it becomes a giant Ask Me Anything where who knows what's coming up, but it's all going to be interesting and educational.
So Belouga will enable your students to work directly with their peers around the world, creating dynamic global learning experience. So learning from books is usually very boring, but when you start learning about, for example, history, about geography, about many other things, about cultures, online directly from the peers from other countries, it's much more interesting. And then you're not stuck in the book just reading, but it's also communicative approach. Another thing is they can message each other, like ask questions, message each other. Then
not yet. They're working on trying to get that system ironed out, but they can message each other through their profile questions.
Yeah. So the other thing is that Belouga as a platform is working on making classes, which means that in future, when Belouga develops, we won't need any books, we won't need any other materials. So it will help the world getting.
This is what Belouga is calling the Deep Dive series. Basically, what it is Matt and Evan are working alongside teachers from all over the world, to do to make a series of lessons that conform to it's really an ever-growing series of lessons, to be more honest, that conform to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. These lessons are going to be color-coded and completely interactive, and they're what Matt is calling accordion-style lessons, where you can squeeze them into the last 10 minutes of class if you have to, or you can stretch them into entire semester-long projects. Right now, Kira and I have actually been given access to a couple of them because as part of the beta program. What they consist of right now is like they've got everything. They have like a general theme, so it's like we have a conservation lesson series that's dealing with elephants in Africa. It starts off with a very general lesson, so it's like this is what an endangered animal is. Here are some examples of the endangered elephant. These are elephants. They are endangered animals that live here, here, and here. And then from there, it's like they're actually going to start doing spider web links where if your students' interests get caught with something, then as the lessons are developed, you're going to be able to spiderweb from there and actually learn more about elephants, or you can learn more about what poaching is, or you can actually get entire lessons that as your students start developing questions, they're going to be able to what if their way to a whole new series of lessons, and class becomes dynamic and interesting in that way. But for right now, what we've got is we've got a very general set of lessons, but at the same time, even then, they still start delving through the use of they start off with you can start learning with the general culture, you start talking about the scientific aspect. What is endangered species? What are some examples of endangered species in your area? You are able to submit pictures, for example, of the Macedonian lynx that allow your country to actually have relevance in this conversation that now everybody else on Earth is allowed to look at. For students to actually be checked in class as to exactly what their understanding is, there are actually inside of these lessons, there are comprehension check questions, as well as a general free response. So it's like your students at different levels are able to actually reach out at different ways. And then, as will be covered later, it's also a very positivity-based lesson system in the fact that there's not really a wrong answer. It's just you get to see a poll that says how your answers stack up against the rest of the world. And then at the end, whenever you finish the lesson as a class, everybody gets 50 points onto their profile. We'll discuss points in a little bit later.
So, as we said, we connect students from all over the world. With Belouga, we tore down the walls of our classroom and create a global classroom. So it's very important to open our doors of the classrooms and let the students learn of the world. And open also the doors of the classroom for the information from all over the world to come into our classrooms.
Can you give example of your own classroom?
We're going to. Yeah. So Belouga allowed our students to learn about and discuss each other's lives with children all over the world: USA, Ghana, Nigeria, Afghanistan, etc. Belouga can create a worldwide learning community and connect the world. Okay, this is the very, very important thing we're trying to show you now. So students can make impact on the world, not only learning, but students can also change the world. So by using Belouga, students can earn points, which they as a class can donate for an impact campaign they choose. So when the students when you make your profile and then add different classrooms, you add the students in the classroom, and then they have their own profile. When they're working on their profile, by answering questions or putting videos or pictures, they earn points. For example, for answering one question, they earn 10 points. For putting for uploading
a picture, you get an extra 20 points.
Yes.
And for adding a video, as soon as they finish working at the bugs, then you will get an additional 30 points. So it's a maximum of 50 points per question on your profile.
Yes. and students are earning points. So what do they do with those points? Those points can be donated to an impact campaign of a school wherever in the world, everywhere in the world, in Nigeria, USA, I don't know, everywhere in the world. And by donating those points, they are donating, they're building on their campaign. So this also helps building empathy through communication. For example, our students don't know about the problem kids are having in Nigeria, like they don't have drinking water. Like we're concerned about our internet connections, and they don't even have schools. They have schools made of stone or
mud.
Crumbling mud that have one desk inside.
When the students see that, like they forget about their problems. This creates empathy. I haven't seen this in my students before. We'll show you the video later, and
we can tell if you would like, we can tell the story of it now, though.
Okay, we'll play the video and then we can. So this helps building empathy through communications, and we can really, students can make a change in the world, not us, but students can feel that they are building something, that they are building a school in the other part of the world, that they're helping other children, peers get drinking water in the other corner of the world. And this is actually not a game, this is not something they read, they're actually doing something. Okay, this is the social impact. The impact portal, that's the impact campaign I was talking before. The impact portal features schools and educational projects around the world in need of support. Whether it be a lack of technology access, minimal classroom supplies, raw materials needed to be built a new facility, then our community can lend a hand, all powered by their platform engagement. So when you make a profile on Belouga, on the bottom part of your platform, of your profile, there is a social impact campaign. The impact campaign are made to make difference in your school, in some other schools, or not only difference. If some school is in need, there was a flood, there was a fire, you can help that school rebuild the school or help them get whatever they need in the school.
And it's not even just for schools. Like, this is actually where Kira was mentioning earlier that the community can use this. The community is able to approach Belouga and say, guys, for example, just as a great one that we actually saw from Tanzania back in Africa, they decided that deforestation was a big issue that they wanted to try to tackle. And through the use of Belouga's resources, they were able to source about 300,000 trees to plant.
Really?
Yes.
Amazing.
So these are the impact campaign. For example, in the Prince and Princess Academy in Ghana, they're asking for bags of cement and sand to build their school. They don't have like primary things for their school. This school in Kenya wants Wi-Fi. Like we have Wi-Fi every day, but for them, Wi-Fi is a huge thing. Then clean. What I was talking about this earlier. This center, educational center, wants 3 months supply of clean water. They don't even have drinking water in there.
This school's actually been highly in need. Like, they've approached Belouga for water. Through Belouga, they've also rebuilt a school. They actually approached them trying to get an entire school rebuilt because it was collapsing from dilapidation. And then now that they're actually getting built, they're actually working on trying to get tablets so that they can connect to Belouga to actually help make a difference in the rest of the world now that they've been helped.
This is the campaign we donated points to. A primary school in Ghana doesn't have notebooks. Sorry.
Notebooks.
Yeah, and
by that we're meaning tetratki, not laptop.
Yeah.
Because I have to clarify, because we say notebooks a lot of times in English for laptops.
Yeah, like their board is just the wall, painted wall. They write on that. And you should see the reaction of our students. They're like, they don't have notebooks?
Yeah.
Like they don't have drinking water?
We showed this video to our 6th graders and our 5th graders. Whenever we showed it to our 6th graders, immediately one of our students stood up and said, I'm leading a campaign in this school. We are going to go buy notebooks for these kids. And then the same reaction happened out of our 5th grade. One of the little girls that is probably one of the least engaged in class stood up immediately. Lele, necesarios, Nelly? And immediately she started like looking around. ¿Qué cupi de tratkite, Nelly? We're going to buy notebooks, right? And over the course of the next 2 weeks, the kids themselves bought about 150 notebooks for these kids in Ghana.
Yeah, the new principal was shocked, like, what's going on with all this notebook?
Yeah, because they started collecting them like right in front of his office, on the table in front of his office. So it was like, where are these kids bringing all these notebooks in?
Okay, so you can see what kind of problems other schools in the world have. Like, look at this school here. It's packed, and they're learning on just like.
I'm not even sure exactly what those things are. They look like little whiteboards or something.
These ones? Like, look at this. Look at their.
But yeah. Oh, you're talking about the tables. I thought you were talking about
the tables.
Yeah, they're old wooden benches.
And look at this school. It's in Nigeria.
You'll get to see this a little better in a minute.
Mm-hmm. So, through Belouga, we can help these schools build a classroom, or we can help this school, for example, get new desks, bigger classrooms, etc., etc. Can you see how packed this classroom is? Like our students were stunned.
Okay. Is this the end of the presentation now?
No, it's not the end.
I'm just saying like the actual PowerPoint.
Play the video of one impact campaign.
So, this is the Cheery Children Education Center in Ghana.
And when we showed this video to our students, they were like, even the most misbehaved students, even the most, like the students who are not even interested in classroom, they were like watching it. And this guy is also talking in English, so they can, and they were just watching at the video, and no one said a word. And in the end, they were like, we have to get some more points. By getting more points, that means they have to work, answer questions in English, read the posts, watch videos, and then comment, etc., etc. That keeps them engaged. So by trying to help others, they're learning. Okay, we're going to watch this.
It's a social, globally minded classroom.
We donated our points, most of our points to this.
This was about 60,000 out of our 90,000 for our 6th graders.
And the students actually helped this school being rebuilt.
Mm-hmm. No, that was not the right button.
This is Cherry Children Education Center, and our students are using these structures which are dangerous to their safety. We're looking at people who will come up and help us put this structure down so that we can set up good structures like this one. And therefore, we are looking at people to come on board to support us set up good classroom for these wonderful children that you can see now going home. Even inside this hall that they are using is not that good.
One bench
you
for
can
the
look
entire
at it
school.
and see. So I believe that your support will really help us pull this structure down and set up a new structure for our students. Thank you from Cherry Children Education Center.
Okay, and when you donate the points, you write some comment, or you ask them
like we asked a lot of them to send us a picture of their classroom so that we could actually put a human face on these campaigns that we were trying to help, because it's one thing to actually see a very nice looking story, but for kids especially, it means more, it means mountains more to be able to see the smiling faces of the kids that they just helped, to see their hard work in action. It helps them learn patience. It helps them put that empathy.
We are connected.
And here's the other half of the Cheery Children campaign, where they are looking for water.
At Cherry, we have connected this tank to serve water to the children. And the water that we fill in this tank comes from a vendor. If you can see the pipe, this yellow pipe, it goes like this, and it's going up to the main connection where the vendor opens so that we can fill the tank. And this filling of the tank is at a cost of $15 per week to serve 450 students. This is where the vendor opens so that we can get the water. Thank you for those that are going to support us, fill the tank every month. Thank you.
So can you imagine the faces of our students when they see this?
It was absolutely jaw-dropping to see exactly what our students realized that they were taking completely for granted. They had a secure school. They had notebooks. They had water. They had food. These are these creature comforts that we consider staples within our lives. Our students actually got to realize for once that all this stuff that they weren't really appreciating, suddenly it seemed like it was so small, because they saw that there were students that didn't have it. And it changed their mindset from being that of people that are looking for donations to people looking for ways to donate.
When we wanted to make an impact campaign, like we asked the students, okay, what do you want us to change in the school? What do you want to get from the campaigns? And they said, we have everything. We don't need anything. Like after seeing this is really building empathy in the student. Okay, these pictures are from our classroom when we donated the points. So we finished a campaign. 2 campaigns. I think we finished.
We actually finished 4.
4 campaigns.
Two with the 6th graders, and then we finished another 2 with the higher grades.
Yes, with the higher grades. With my grades, we finished 2 campaigns. 2 campaigns, and then they were more than happy. And they were going to the other teachers saying, "Oh, we built a classroom today." Can you imagine that? Or we gave our friends from Nigeria some drinking water for 2 weeks or something.
Actually, you finished 3 because you did the drinking water, you built the school,
the notebooks,
and you gave notebooks and textbooks to a school in Rhode Island. People normally think of America helping Macedonia, but that day Macedonians helped Americans. It's like that was actually almost a badge of honor that the Macedonian kids got to wear for basically the rest of the week. Like,
so it was, for them, it was accomplishment, and they're doing that by learning. Mm-hmm. They're writing questions on Belouga, answering questions, learning new words, watching videos. They are actually learning and helping the other part of the world, or they can help. They can also help. We can also help. Each other schools, different schools in Macedonia, different schools in Europe, in Africa, whatever we see, there is a great need for anything. For example, for drinking water, I don't know, classroom, etc., etc. Okay, so the questions we were talking about earlier. This is one example of a question. For example, during holiday celebration, what is the traditional food your family eats? So this is actually teaching the world about our culture, about what we do, what we eat in our culture, in our country for celebration, and at the same time they're earning points. So this is an example of students'
this is
profile.
It's like periodically, even just from interacting with it, these up here, they're exactly what they look like. Students get badges for different kinds of interactions that they do on the site. So once they actually interact with their profile 33 times, answered 33 questions, they are linked together with about 45 students from across the world, depending on how they answer these questions. Because Beluga's, like for Americans, you'll probably remember, if you've ever thought about eHarmony, they give you this ridiculous psychological profile that you have to fill out before you actually get to see any of your matches. Beluga works in a slightly similar way. For every question you answer, it's trying to get an idea of who you are so that it can better match you to kids across the world that you like and that you're probably going to like. So these questions help Beluga match you to a good group of kids. They help you by getting points. They help you by getting badges. And they also help you because these points aren't just a score. These points are your individual students' voices on how they want the money that Beluga receives from its donors to be spent. So the more your students interact, the more voice they have in shaping the future of the world.
Right. Then look at the faces of the students our students working on Beluga. Like they're happy when they learn a new word. They're happy when they read a comment from other students all over the world. Like look at their faces. They're so engaged. I haven't seen my students this engaged since I've started teaching.
How many times have you seen it looking at a textbook? A couple more.
Here they are. So we can change the world with Beluga, and I believe this is the future of education, and not only education. This is the future of engagement in other people's problems, in helping each other, in building a community of helpers. Mm-hmm. Now you can access Beluga through your telephones. We're going to try to show you how Beluga works. Okay, if you want to open an account, your account or the account of
Yeah, I've already got one pulled up.
Okay. So this is how a Beluga profile looks like. Okay.
Okay, so basically from here, I've already described basically what a lot of this actually looks like. So it's like you've got your point totals here. These are badges that, even within the badges, there's actually a chance to learn something because they've actually got like little did you know facts inside of the badges. So even by earning things, you're still learning things by the things that you've earned as a reward. And then in the center of the page, you get a scrolling news feed that can go back as far as you want. This is where like Our World posts were that like whenever we posted about the hospitality and Negostis in Macedonia, that's where these go, along with these Beluga posted stories that tell people about different facets of the world. This week they're looking at maple syrup. We also saw things about a Mexican wood carving tradition, etc., etc. In addition, you go down here, like for each student, they've got the classroom that they're assigned to, and Right now they're only given. Right now they only have one, but in the future, whenever, for example, the geography teacher is also using it, they can go here, and this actually allows the teachers to actually have a more direct way of reaching out to all of their students already. And then here are the infamous profile questions. It's like, in addition to food, you've got culture, you've got environment, you've got family, history, interest, and school. So it's generally giving complete pictures of how the students' lives are. So it's like, what's one thing that you want others from another country to understand about your culture? And it's like, you've got questions about that, or it's like, how does your home look different in January and in June? Where are you going?
To open up a new profile.
Okay, I'll warn you right now, the internet's going real slow.
Yes?
Yes. So that's why I tried to open one up before. So it's like, that's why I wanted to have a model one open, just so that we were, okay, come on. Please.
Is it important?
Well, I know it's important for them to learn how to open a profile, but we can only do so much. Come on. The touchpad's not very responsive on this. Okay, well.
Do we get to sign up?
Below this section, there's the My Pod section, where whenever you open it, because you actually have to collapse that tab, and it's not being like the touchpad's not responding very well. But below this, there's the My Pod section where all the kids from the different countries of the world are located that have been systematically matched to you. Once they answer questions on their profile, you can respond to their answers, and that's how our students have actually begun opening conversation. And then from there, and then below that are the selection of impact campaigns. Students can't donate directly from their profiles, but they are allowed, but as the teacher, you can donate from yours. So
teachers don't earn points?
No, teachers do not earn points. You donate from your classroom's total point pool.
Something's wrong with it.
I told you the trackpad's not working.
Okay, let's close this.
To log out of her profile.
So in the past, all the schools needed to get a very short
registration
code, which was given by Belouga. That kept things a little bit more difficult. Now, if you want to register, your school just needs to be like geotagged, and that's it.
It's like, so basically, whenever you like. Pedro was actually testing that for us a second ago before he left. So basically, during the registration process, all you have to do now is, in the middle of your registration, it pops up like a Google map, and from there you tag your school on a map so that it knows approximately where you are, because every school is placed on a world map. So if somebody wants to meet you, they can actually find you exactly where you are.
Okay, so if you type beluga.org on your, I believe
computer, phone,
phones, we can do it with the phones now. You get the first Belouga page saying learning about the world with the world, and you go to sign up.
The internet's like, we're trying to sign up.
The internet's very, very envious of snails.
I can't sign up.
Okay, so then from here you can actually select exactly which kind of account you're trying to create. So, are you creating a school account, or are you creating a student account or a teacher account? So I'm assuming most of you are going to try to create teacher accounts. we go. Being slightly nice. And then from there, it's like you do your. There we go. Now I'm curious what they have it in here, Alex.
Maybe few.
Okay, we'll just do. Here, we'll just do this.
Again?
This trackpad does not like me today. Okay, there we go. But yeah, so from here you basically just create. We apologize for the technical difficulties that are affecting our presentation, but yes.
So if you can try to start your profile.
If you've already got your, like, it's actually got a database of schools that it thinks are actually in your area. So we'll just go to, we want to actually officially create this school's profile. But see, it'll actually pop, now it's automatically, if your school's already been geotagged, then it'll actually pop up all of this information, at which point you go to next, it starts creating your profile from there. So, I'm not sure I'm going to take chances with the internet being like this.
Okay.
This trackpad's a nuisance. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we're not going to be able to get
Did
very
you find
far in
Belouga
this.
on your phone? Okay.
Why does it
So
say
select
the age
the
has to be
country
10 to 12?
The reason why you've got a certain age limit is because in different countries there are legal standards on that. They do not want children that are below a certain age threshold to be interacting online. So it's like a lot of parents in America worry about their 8-year-old child having full access to the internet, because sometimes you'll encounter children. Children are going to be children online, and even though teachers on Belouga have full supervisory ability for all of their students posting, whenever you've got 350 kids throughout the entire course of all of the English classes you teach, someone might try to slide something past you, and you don't want that something going to an 8-year-old in Afghanistan that scars them for at least the week. So they need a certain age limit for certain countries' legal standards.
So unfortunately, we cannot create an account.
Yeah. I'll try to create like a set of slide shares or something to actually better demonstrate that whenever we release
it's
that.
easy. I don't think it's difficult.
Like, I apologize that we weren't able to model it directly. But one of the things I was actually hoping I was going to get a chance to touch on is probably one of the things that'll be most useful, especially when you have to propose this to your director. What difference has this platform made? We've touched on the social impact, but what about the actual impact on students' grades? We've just begun getting our data back on this for the first couple samples, and the impact has been huge. My 5th grade is up about 20% in terms of their grades. 6th grade is up about 33%. I've seen, just on the quiz that we gave on Friday just before we came here, my 2 lowest performing 6th graders that had basically given up on English class, one of them got a perfect score. The other one got a 7 of 9. She nearly fainted. I asked her, "How does this feel?" My response, she looked at me wide-eyed. "Nema zborovi. Nema zborovi." Like, she kept looking at her test, expecting her test grade to change in front of her. Because she's so used to seeing jedinici, or occasionally dvoici. And she got a 5 on the test.
You mean actual paper test or?
Yeah, like this was a 9-question quiz that we designed to give at the beginning of class. But even then, from the test that we gave before we integrated Belouga into the classroom to the test that we gave after we integrated Belouga in the classroom, even those 2 students were up at least 1 number point.
So by learning, they're also helping the world. At the same time, this helps them become very interested in the classroom, very interested in what they're doing. When the students see that it's not only that the learning is for a purpose, then they're like eager to learn, eager to find new horizons, eager to discover new things around the world. And I think that the most important is for us to teach the students, our students, to be like open-minded, to be knowledgeable about the world. Not teaching English is not only like teaching words and grammar and stuff. Teaching English is teaching culture, getting them interested in the world, and making them feel like they can make a change. Like they're not only waiting for someone to do something. They're the ones who are making the change, and they're very happy about it. Trust me, when you start using this, the student will blow their minds, and that will create a classroom of very engaged and interested students, and at the same time, you can make changes everywhere in the world. You can make changes like when they see how other people some who are more misfortunate than them, that will create a huge impact on them. That will create empathy like nothing has created before. Like this is actually the real thing we have experienced by now. Like this is the thing that not only excited me, but it excited them. It's actually English classes with Belouga have started being like the English classes have started being very, very meaningful. Now they know why they are learning English, to communicate with other students all around the world. They see that now that they can communicate with students in Nigeria, even though they don't speak Nigerian. They can communicate with students in the States and students all over the world, and they can help them. When we donated the points to the Impact campaign, they were happy that they are doing something. They're happy that they have contributed to the world. Okay, so
I'm going to turn it over to a question answer.
Okay, so if you have any questions,
can students exchange letters between other students, like private or something like that, or it has to be?
Yeah, Evan's actually trying to find a way to get that to try to actually do that in a way that allows the free exchange of ideas. However, is monitored in such a way that they're not sending something that you don't notice that might actually be potentially culturally offensive.
We started practicing this year exchanging letters in the US, so we are using mail as often. This would be nice, but it seems like it doesn't have that thing in particular. Besides that, it's fantastic. It's really
like we don't send letters. This doesn't cost the school anything. This doesn't cost the student anything.
You don't have to pay postage. You don't have to pay for customs. It's like it's taking advantage of basically the general tilt of the world as it is. It's basically the philosophy. You've got two rival philosophies whenever it comes to technology in the classroom. You can fight it, or you can employ it. This is coming from the philosophy of you may as well employ it because it's going to be there whether you make it your enemy or your best friend. It's like, the things that I've actually begun seeing out of this have actually been amazing. I didn't realize that whenever I signed up to be a Peace Corps volunteer that I was going to start, that over the course of like 5 months, I was going to start seeing drastic changes in student confidence, in the students' grades. I didn't like, this is my first year teaching. Like, this is amazing to me.
How often do you practice?
We implement Belouga as often as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes we have a whole class with Belouga. Sometimes like 10 minutes before the class ends. Sometimes at the beginning of the class we start Belouga, and then we're having difficulties continuing with something.
Sometimes I do a Belouga club on the end of the second shift Friday until the janitors physically kick me out of the building. It's happened a couple times. I'm not their friend.
We have a Belouga club in our school, and like those kids are like during the winter break they're coming to our school almost every day.
Yes, our Belugas, our schools actually host to the Beluga Student Council of Macedonia.
Mm-hmm.
So periodically they actually have basically small tasks to basically be the Beluga ambassadors to the rest of the world. So it's like the ESAR project was actually one that they were actually doing as a way to, like, that was actually being published in the Beluga blog as part of, like, every country's student council gets the same assignment. So it's like, tell us about a culturally significant event and why it's important, how it impacts your culture's history. Or it's like, then it's like, last month's topic was seasonally appropriate as well. It was, December is known as a season of giving. Describe the most important gift you have ever received, both either educationally or just in terms of a gift. And tell us how that has impacted your life and why.
And gets them thinking.
And the responses that our students gave were everything from physical objects to the very fact that they have education to, well, ironically, one of those actually mentioned me.
Yeah.
You never know what they're going to produce whenever you start getting them thinking like that. It's like they started asking, like, is it okay if I write about, yes, this is your diary.
Yes, and this makes them curious. Like when they see the video in Nigeria, they make them curious. What if, I don't know, Nigeria was in here and there? What if we can help Nigeria build schools? What if, like, it opens their minds.
Carson, let's see you raise your hand a second ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you're working, like when they're working on their profiles, is that mostly during class time, or is that something you have them do at home? Like, how do you structure and then also still have regular lessons?
We've done it both ways. It's like Kira and I have actually worked occasionally to shuffle around enough class time that we basically donate a day to doing their Beluga profiles, especially for the students that lack the ability to regularly access it at home because they may not have a computer, or they may not have access to a fast enough internet connection, or their brother is constantly downloading movies off of Netflix. Or it's just like for any number of the myriad of reasons that they don't have access to it at home, between the fact that we on second shift Fridays we do Beluga, basically we Beluga blackout. Until the janitors kick me out of the school, we do Beluga. And then occasionally we'll have a Beluga lesson where it's like where we donate the class period to giving them a chance to use Beluga for all they can. And then to make sure that they've even got motivation outside of the classroom, occasionally we'll actually do like, and now this month, the classroom, we actually pit the classrooms against each other where the fourth graders are now competing against everybody else in the school. Whoever gets the most number of points over the course of this week will actually wind up getting some sort of a special prize. And interestingly enough, whenever the 8th graders actually took second place, the prize that they had requested was actually a lesson on recipes using actual food. So it's like, they've already understood the concept of exactly what this is supposed to be for. So it's like, whenever they won, even if they had actually won, which we gave them the prize anyway, because who's going to turn down the chance to actually use an interactive lesson? So, like, they gain 110,000 points. I'm not going to not reward that level of activity whenever it's given at 10-point increments. And so it's like, and that's actually one of the other things that I forgot to touch on, but that's one of the most fleeting things that teachers struggle to grasp at from what I've learned. How do you quantify student engagement? Beluga's doing that for our kids. We're able to see that just by sheer number of percentage point differentials between week 1 to week 2, you can quantify it. You can see this kid has been engaged about 25% more than last week, or this one's taken a little bit of a dip. Let's see what's going on. So you can actually see where their attention is, or you can see like where their interests are currently at, where their longest, most detailed responses are, where their weakest ones are. You can see the answers.
You can see how much they've tried to give the answers. As like you can it's testing them all the time. And we also put some Beluga questions on our last test.
Yeah, it's like we've started actually bringing that relevance too. It's like they're beginning to see that it's important that they actually use these to practice, because we say, you've got 4 weeks to do this. You've got 4 weeks to bring any questions from this section of your profile that you're having issues with to us, so that we can actually help you work, so that you can actually understand what this question's asking.
For example, the topic of the last team our last team was food, and then we put some questions on our test from the Beluga from their profiles from the section on Beluga for food. It was very interesting to implement Beluga in the tests.
And it's like even on our pop quizzes, we're starting to actually say like I'm beginning to pull questions off of the Beluga news feed. So it's like, if they use it every day, or if they at least try to, or even for the ones that don't have access to it, as I've been saying, it's like it's still taking advantage of the fact that it's still a social medium, because they may not have access to Beluga, but every single one of them has Facebook. They've actually invited me into their social group, so I know they've all got it. And so I interact with them through their Facebook group, reminding them, hey guys, have you checked your Beluga stuff yet? Hold them accountable. This is basically taking advantage of the medium that they currently use to remind them about the other medium that's actually helping them.
Very interesting.
Okay, do you have any other things you want to add, or?
What language is Beluga? The name Beluga is hundreds of times mentioned.
Okay, so Beluga is a pun. Beluga is a type of whale in English.
In English, so
yes,
I've never.
But it's it's an intentional misspelling of the word, because Evan. I actually asked Evan about the history of Beluga.
Evan is the director of Beluga.
He decided that he was trying to think of something that was extremely smart, but also very, very playful. And he wanted something that was, kind of simple to actually illustrate. So eventually decided on a whale, and then he decided, okay, so what would actually work? You know what? A beluga whale is actually meets a lot of those criteria. And then he wanted to make sure that whenever you typed it in, you were specifically going to this, instead of now you have to try to find the beluga website after belugawhale.com, Wikipedia. And so it's like, eventually he put the U in there to actually help make it, the intentional misspelling helps you get directly to the web page.
Very wise. But clever, wise.
Yeah, that's what happens whenever you put a New York businessman in charge of a family. He's a New York businessman in the middle of a family where everybody else is teachers.
So that's what you get. Okay.
Yes.
So that's the cocktail.
So you've got that New York City cocktail of education meets business.
We will definitely check it
And it's like,
and
we're
see.
more like, just let us know if you actually would like for us to come and make a presentation for your schools. Kira and I travel the country doing it for you, doing it for you guys now.
Yeah, we will be happy to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.